What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode 256 of the Ball is Round Montreal. We've got a loaded show for you today, Ball is Rounders. We're breaking down CF Montreal's fourth loss of the season, this time falling to FC Cincinnati at TQL Stadium. And after that, we'll dive into some of the storylines starting to take shape around CF Montreal as the season begins to unfold. Let's go ahead and get right into it. So, as you guys know, I'm not stepping into this one alone. Joining me at the mic, never one to sugarcoat it, always bringing the real talk, and guaranteed to bring the energy every single time. Elias Grigoriadis, how are you doing? As soon as he pops up, this guy, the classic Elias sleeping.
Oh,
No, hey Elias,
I hate it here.
I told Elias
I don't even
something
like men's soccer.
on
That shit's
on our
stupid.
side chat, and he's gonna get so he got so mad at me when he read it. I told him, Elias, you're not allowed to curse within the first 5 minutes of this show, and it's going. I know it's going to take
All right, guys,
everything.
that's our show. Everyone, thank you so much for coming out. We will see you next week for episode 257 of The Ball
I
is
thought I
Round.
could be myself, but
You're being
nah, we're just
censored,
trying to
everybody.
keep it clean for the kids out there because we respect them so much and we really care about what they think about us and everything. No, we don't. We don't really care. So let's go ahead and dive right into the fun stuff. But before we get into it, quick little message for y'all: if you like the Ball is Round, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notifications so you never miss an episode. It really helps the show grow and keeps us bringing you more content every single week. Elias, we've been bringing so much content since last year to the Ball is Round. We've been going to
Yeah.
practices. We've been providing press conferences. We've been giving interviews. So, guys, it helps the show. It helps our morale. It keeps us going, right, Elias? It keeps us pushing to wake up and keep doing this. And don't forget, drop your thoughts in the comments. What did you guys make of CF Montreal's performance? What needs to change? What stood out to you? We read the comments and we interact with y'all. We want to hear from you. Make sure you're also following us on all social media, all of our socials: X, Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube, everywhere for daily updates, clips, and breaking takes covering everything CF Montreal, Rose FC, and FC Supra du Québec. But as I mentioned earlier today, this is the CF Montreal show today. It's an all CF Montreal show today, and it's going to be a positive one because it
Yeah,
was.
right.
Has 5 minutes passed? It was a shit game. So so Pat, we're gonna talk about it right. We're not gonna get into it right away. That's in our storylines, but let's go ahead and talk about the game. So coming into Sunday morning, guys, we talked about it last week. We knew Marco Donadel and his staff were in desperate need of a result because FC Cincinnati had their midweek game, where they got hammered by Tigres in the CONCACAF 5-1.
Yep.
So you knew they were tired, demoralized, probably a few injuries here and there. So on paper, it really felt like it was Montreal's perfect opportunity to really, that's how I felt Sunday morning. I said, you can't write it any better. And then he said, Marco Donadel can't mess this one up. The players can't mess this up. It's a perfect opportunity. You're getting a tired team. We knew it was going to be a hot day as well for everybody. So yeah, I just kind of want to know, knowing all these things,
Yeah.
you haven't even watched a game. You wake up Sunday morning, you have your cup of coffee or beer, whatever it is that you drink in the morning. And how are you feeling about the game?
I don't drink coffee, and if it's before a safe Montreal game, no, I need something stronger than beer. But uh, yeah, I felt good. I felt really good for the reasons you just named, and also for the fact that like there's no way he doesn't start Ivan Jaime 2 games in a row. So I was like, okay, Ivan Jaime's going to play. This is going to look like we saw that Hidalgo, David Bugay, and Danko Torhalson were all training at right back. So I was like, okay, this is gonna be ça va avoir de l'allure. This is gonna be a starting 11 that everyone's in their natural position, and that means that they have a chance. I was like, okay, you know what? Maybe this isn't Orlando. Maybe this is a team that's struggling. Montreal can actually show up and take advantage. So I was feeling good,
Yeah.
and I feel like that was a pretty prevalent feeling because again, the game against Orlando wasn't that bad, We saw some offense, and you throw in Ivan Jaime on top of that, and there's really something there. I'm like, okay, right? This is not a team that's going to finish top four, obviously, but there's something. So I was cautiously optimistic. Serves me fucking right, but I was cautiously optimistic.
But you know what? For the show, we're gonna do 5 minutes where we can't curse. But Elias has 30 minutes where he can't curse, just for you, just a special.
Wow.
And Elias, and once again, the show is over. But but no. What I want to mention something about that, okay? Because on Saturday there were, CF Montreal played on Sunday at 1 p.m., which to me, to this day, I said it yesterday. I kind of say, Elias, it was weird because 1
I
p.m.
love it though.
Sundays, I only like watching American football. That's usually what Sundays 1 p.m. mean for me. But anyways, it was a weird one. But I do want to say something because you mentioned we saw good things in Orlando and all that, which you're not wrong. Um, but then there was Orlando against Nashville the day before on Saturday. They lost 5-0, and I actually watched the whole game
Yeah,
just because I wanted to see how good of an Orlando team Montreal was playing. Nashville is no team to be messed around with either. They're
Nashville is
they're
legit this year.
they are a very, very good team. But at the same time, I wanted to know. Again, we talked about it this show. We don't think that CF. You mentioned it yourself. You said Montreal is one or two players away from making it big, but
Competitive. Oh,
being competitive, whatever. But at the end of the day, I just wanted to see like how that opponent that had beat Montreal the week before would react in the second game, and they lose 5-0. But it wasn't just a 5-0 loss; it was a terrible loss. It was a broken team. So I ask you like how you feeling Sunday morning about the CF Montreal game, and it's fair. There's a lot of optimism about the circumstances, but at the same time, I'm looking at that Orlando game and I'm thinking Montreal really missed a chance there. They really, really missed a chance against Orlando because Orlando is not a good team. Forget the news of this morning that I think last night or this morning that Antoine Griezmann is going to Orlando. Okay, no, forget about it. Right now, they're a terrible team. They really are not good.
yep.
And Montreal really, I don't even know what the expression is, but they shot the bed. Like they were terrible. They really didn't take advantage of the situation they were given. And little did we know that on Sunday against FC Cincinnati, again, another opportunity was going to come up. What was given of them being tired and all that, but it gets even better. There were more opportunities during the game for CF Montreal to take advantage, and they never did. So before we dive into the game, let's go ahead and look into the starting lineup. At goalie, we had Thomas Gillier. Oof, that's a lot of red, a lot of oranges, maybe a little
A
blue here and
rainbow.
green. It's a it's a rainbow. And on the right back, we had Bodi Hidalgo. Back line, Brian Vera, Efrain Morales. On the left back, we had Luca Petrasso, Matty Longstaff, Victor Latori on the midfield with Wiki Carmona as the 10, and Hennady Sinchuk and Ivan Jaime getting back in the starting lineup, and Prince Owusu, as always, the soldier. Yeah, you look at this lineup. What are your thoughts when you see this?
Finally. Finally, that was my exact thought. We very rarely got the chance to see Ivan Jaime and Hennady Sinchuk on the field at the same time for more than like 10, 15 minutes last season. And again, that was the case in Orlando where they were on the field for 11 minutes together or something like that. And so this is finally the chance to see what CF Montreal can do with danger and reliable options on both sides of the field. It's gonna create a lot of space for Wiki Carmona and Prince Owusu, so they have to deliver as well. But overall, this is the best 11 that CF Montreal has fielded in a long time. That's saying something. But I was thrilled. I was like, oh my god, I have nothing to complain about. I mean, there's always something to complain about if you want, but I had nothing. Not immediately going like, oh my god. So I was like, okay, wow, let's go.
Yeah. Look, I looked at it. I had the same reaction as you, but more than anything, I was just happy that Tomas Aviles wasn't getting another chance at right back because that experiment failed terribly against Orlando.
Miserable.
Um, but it was exciting because you finally felt like Montreal was showing their whole hand. Like this is a true proper formation with everybody playing in their position. There's no testing here. We are just putting everybody where they're comfortable, and we're trying to make it work between Hennady Sinchuk and Ivan Jaime. starting the game. It's no longer mid game, or maybe they play a few minutes here and there together and then one of them gets subbed out. It really was they're starting, and it's going to be very, very interesting against what, like as I mentioned earlier, a rather probably tired squad in FC Cincinnati. But as you know, I don't have to repeat it. I think everybody knows it, at least those that listen to us. It didn't turn out that way. Montreal loses 4-3. And we talked and this is something I thought a lot before doing the show, because last week we talked about the Orlando game as being kind of a boring game, because it was kind of a
Yeah.
boring game. This game was the complete contrary. It was not boring at all. If anything, it was probably one of the more exciting games we've seen this season from CF Montreal.
Mhm.
But it ends up with them losing in a very exciting CF Montreal. Bless you.
Sorry.
In a very CF Montreal exciting way. They end up losing this game after having the lead three times. FC Cincinnati was playing with a red card when Montreal was up 3-2. They after they scored a penalty, right? They were up a man. Um, and yet they allowed two goals to be scored in a span of, I want to say, 10 minutes, 12
12
minutes.
minutes.
Yeah, so they allowed two goals to win. FC Cincinnati, scores on. I don't even know where to start with this, but every situation on paper looks like Montreal should have gone 1-4-0 or three to
Yep.
zero in this game, but continuously we saw individual mistakes, lack of concentration. I'm not ready to say, and I said the same thing last week about Orlando. I'm not ready to say that FC Cincinnati is better than Montreal. They have one or two players that can definitely change the game, but I don't think as a whole team they are better than Montreal. But I think you tweeted out, Elias. Marco Donadel keeps getting in his own effing way, because it's just infuriating at this
Yeah.
point that we're talking about this. As Pat said, you subbed out. He subbed out all of his offensive players, right? He subbed out all of it, which is true. He did. I think at some point it was only Oger Escobar that was left on top, but there was nobody that was a natural attacker. You had a bunch of midfielders. He said at post game press conference, he said that he thought it was the right way to go about it. He thought that it was in the right strategy at that point, but it wasn't, Elias. What did you think of the game overall?
I have to give credit to Marco Donadel where credit is due. The preparation for the match was fantastic. He
What do you
organized the
mean?
team in terms of setting up your team for success. He handled it perfectly. The team was everyone was in their rights, everyone was in their natural position, which is already a good start. The instructions were clear. They managed to limit the danger. People like Denki, people like Evander had obviously sets a goal because of their quality, but their overall impact in the game was somewhat limited. And they forced the supporting cast to shine. Now, Ichiniki ran rampant on the right side, and Luca Petrasso looked terrible. And that gave Cincinnati a chance. But every other spot on the pitch was Montreal's. Every other blade of grass was Montreal's in all three phases. That right side in the attack was the only problem child for Montreal. And those two area and that only area is what kind of caused both goals in the first half or in the first hour. So I have to give credit where credit is due. Marco Donadel prepared a fantastic match. But where we get into the context of him being his own worst enemy, my single biggest pet peeve in world soccer right now, and it's not just right now, but it's a fairly common reaction across the history of soccer, is when coaches get into a situation where they need a result, they lose their nerve, and then they just throw defense on the field for the sake of having defenders on the field, because that does not guarantee more solidity. So you take off Sinchuk and Jaime at the same time. They're not ready to play 90 minutes. Fine. But taking both off at the same time to put on Dango Torhalsen, who has been okay on the wing, but is a fullback by trade, and Mahala Opoku, who again I love Mahala, and I've always found him to be a wonderful character and a really nice guy, but he hasn't played all season. He hasn't played in God knows how long. These are two extremely negative substitutions, and it sends a message. So it goes 2-2, and then through that, despite Sinchuk and Jaime being off the field, they go up and they're up 3-2. Okay, fine. Carmona and Owusu did a very good job, and they're still there, and and they're up a man now. Fantastic. So what do? You take both of them off. You put on Danny Rios, who is basically Prince Owusu light, and you put on Samuel Piet. And I see Samuel Piet getting warmed up. I'm like, okay, Longstaff and Latourie are coming off. Makes sense. You want a bit more composure there. Fine. No, Wiki Carmona comes off. So the only attacking deterrent that is stopping or Cincinnati from saying, screw it, let's throw numbers forward. The only attacking deterrent, Prince Owusu and Wiki Carmona, are now off the field. And you've brought on another defensive midfielder, and you've brought on an attacker who is less effective in every sense of the word. So if I'm a player for CF Montreal now, I don't care what the instructions were. Go out there, control the ball, kill the game. No, because I see those 4 substitutions being made 15 minutes apart, and my brain goes, batten down the hatches. Oh my God, we're under siege. Doesn't matter that we're up a man, by the way. We're up a man.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. My brain goes, holy shit.
But why does Montreal keep putting themselves at the same level of FC? Did it feel like FC?
But that's a difference, right? Because this is not, and Prince Owusu put it very well. And if anybody didn't see Prince Owusu's post-game comments, I encourage you to go watch them. They're on our YouTube page.
It's on our YouTube page.
He speaks very frankly, and it's very much like one of the locker room leaders. But he says, right, it's not a tactical thing. If you are a professional player, you're up a man, you go and you kill the game, or you try and kill the game. So I understand that the players did not respond well either. But when I'm the coach, everything I do and every substitution I make sends a message to my players, because
and to the other bench.
Because what I'm doing is effectively, when you make a substitution, is you are correcting something, especially when it's not a like-for-like substitution. There was no like-for-like substitution except for Sinchuk and Mahala. Everything else was a different concept or a different kind of player or a different idea. And every single one of those was negative. So if I'm the player, I'm backing off. Now, both goals that Montreal conceded were extremely stupid. People switched off at the wrong time and whatever, and you could say that, oh, yeah, they were a bit lucky. Piet is half a step late. The touch goes into space. The ball, who was it? Hidalgo and Morales. I don't care. They have one less player. Luck doesn't mean anything. So, as far as I'm concerned, Marco Donadel deserves the result he got. He deserves the fantastic first hour of football he got, because I was ready to go. This result alone, if he can replicate it, keep him for another year or two. Even if he recreates it only like once or twice a month, because it shows progress. Remember the progress we were talking about at the beginning of the season? That's the progress I was talking about. That first hour, that makes me believe that Marco Donadel is the coach that can at least spearhead the beginning of this rebuild.
You know what I'm getting from
the last half hour makes me go, Marco Donadel gets in his own way and he's the one making the case as to why they need to look elsewhere. So whatever happens, Marco Donadel has no one to blame but himself. I still think right now it's too early to pull the trigger. I said the same thing about Laurent Courtois.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. We'll stick to the game for now. We're going to talk about the Marco Donadel situation a little later in the show. But I do want to say this. I said a little bit earlier. It feels like CF Montreal puts themselves in that position where they say, okay, you guys are playing this way, we're playing this way. They don't say, we're going to kill this game. We are one man. Look, FC Cincinnati, it was a hot game. They had two water breaks because it
Mhm.
was hot. Both teams were tired, but FC Cincinnati, that first hour that you're talking about, Elias, you could tell FC Cincinnati was tired. They were a step slower than CF Montreal. They seemed to be really caught off guard by what CF Montreal was doing, especially Ivan Jaime, who was spreading the ball really well. And Sinchuk was going down the flank really well as well. So it
Yeah.
was a tired team. But every little hope that Montreal gave them by allowing one score, two score, it's like the FC Cincinnati players looked at each other and said, guys, we can actually do this.
Yeah.
Even down a man, we can actually do this, because they would grasp onto any little bit of hope and energy to go and do something with Montreal. You talked about luck and all that. Yeah, everybody had their luck and everything. You're right, but CF Montreal had their luck too. The
Yeah. You're
penalty,
right.
the rebound from the goalie and the Prince of Wilson penalty. Like, there's a lot of things that went Montreal's way, but there's a lot of things that Montreal shot themselves in the foot. And I just find that it's a team right now. The squad is not, like you said. Prince of Wilson at the post game press conference, he said it's on the players. But at the end of the day, this has been happening way too many times, and it's a
Yeah.
very young season for these things to be happening within weeks of each other. So either there's leadership missing, or the message isn't clear as to what they're. I just think right now, Marco Donadel, what he's doing right now is something is working, something is going really well, and then he's saying, what can I do to experiment and see if it works? Maybe I can use the element of surprise, and nobody will see me coming from this angle, and maybe it's gonna work. But so far, that
The thing is,
approach
I don't think he
has.
experimented on Sunday. I just think he vastly on Saturday. I just think he vastly, miscalculated.
But then
Because
what is he
like
doing if it's not
what's he
experimenting?
doing? He lost his nerve.
But that's what I mean. He loses. He's
But
impulsive.
it's not. But it's not an experiment though. It's more just like, oh shit, we got a result. I have to do everything in my power to keep the result. But he's actively handicapping the team by making these substitutions all at once. If he made all four of these substitutions 60, 70, 80, 90th minute, I think Montreal win this game. But the fact that he did them all immediately, it shows, at least again, externally, it shows that he lost his cool, and either him or the staff were too desperate to get a result to get the result. They could just doing they could have continued exactly what they were doing for another 10 minutes and then start gradually making those substitutions, and they win this game 100%. But
I
if
think.
buts
Yeah.
and maybes and hypotheticals, who cares?
Yeah,
They didn't.
exactly. So it's very hard to think. Like, in my opinion, it was a game that was mismanaged. It was really well played, and I think FC Cincinnati struggled themselves. Even stars like Evander, they you know they assigned Victor Lattori to defend Evander, and I don't think he was doing a good job. But
He did in the first half.
He did enough to not allow him to score. Did he score in the first half? I don't think he did. I don't think Evander scored. But
No.
and either way, he didn't have the performance of his life during the first half. But as I mentioned, momentum is a real thing. Ask any athlete, Elias. You've played sports. I've played sports. We don't look like we do now, guys, because we look like fat asses podcasting, but we did play sports at some point, and momentum is a real thing. So when a professional, regardless if you're getting paid to do the sport, starts feeling that momentum, it's things can happen. You can get that lucky bounce. All of a sudden, you have more reaction than the other guy because you feel the momentum going your way. So it's something that Montreal kept giving FC Cincinnati hope. And I won't say that FC Cincinnati was asking Montreal for the hope. If anything, I think I thought FC Cincinnati would quit the game after the red card. They're like, fuck it, we're down 3-2, we're down a man. Let's just protect our lives out here. But no, FC Cincinnati said, hey, Montreal seems to be giving us a little bit of space. Let's go ahead and attack that space and see what happens. What do we have to lose at this point?
But I mean, they did give up the game. They did. They subbed out. They brought on 2 defenders at the hour mark because they're like, oh shit, we're down a man. Just stop the bleeding. And then Montreal said, no, 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 come in, come in, come in, come in. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
You want to play?
Don't worry, you're fine. I will make the substitutions. You just come. And they're like, shit. All right. I mean, if you're giving it to me for free, then fine. And that's what they did, right? So again, like I understand why Marco Donadel. Like, no, I don't understand.
No.
He justified his substitutions. He wanted to pack the midfield. He wanted to, control the ball and bring Cincinnati out of their shape. Here's the problem, and I would have hoped that he would have realized this by now. You don't have the team to tiki-taka your way into demoralizing and deconstructing another team. What you do have is individual technical quality, and that's where you space the field out. You don't shrink everything, which is what putting 3 defensive midfielders on does. So I think that, keeping Matty Longstaff on was the right move. But if you want to take Wiki Carmona off, put on an actual 10. Someone that if they leave them alone, it's not the end of the world. If they back off, they have to, there's actual present danger. If I back off Samuel Piet, if I back off Victor Loturi, even if I back off Matty Longstaff, the worst thing that's going to happen is the ball's going to go sideways. Right? If I don't let them break lines, I'm chilling. And that lets me gradually suffocate them, which is exactly what happened. And then Montreal ended up having to clear lines or having to give the ball away for free. And you're giving glimmers of hope. So I do think Cincinnati gave up. I think they were like, let's cut our losses, batten down the hatches. We lose 3-2, maybe we lose 4-2. Shit happens. Try and hit back on the counter, sure. But they brought on 2 defenders at the hour mark. They didn't bring on forwards. They didn't sense anything. If anything, they sensed the opposite. And Montreal actively gave them the glimmer of hope. It's not like they had to go out there and get it. Those substitutions that Montreal made, and then the resulting play of those players made Cincinnati go, oh, maybe. And all they needed was a maybe. Because again, this team is not bad. This team has this team finished top 3 in the East. You have to remember that. And just because they have a Champions League hangover that, happens to 3/4 of the MLS teams that are in the Champions League at the beginning of the season, just because they have that hangover and MLS is not going so great, doesn't mean that this team is bad. They have excellent players, and you give those players an inch and they'll take a mile. And that's exactly what they did. Because not only did they get 2 lucky goals, they got 3 or 4 real chances. Evander found more space at 11v10 than he did at 11v11, despite having 3 defensive midfielders on the field. So the math is not mathing. I think so. Yeah, Montreal has no one but themselves to blame. Prince Owusu, again, go check out his post game media availability because he put it excellently. There has to be a very uncomfortable conversation because you cannot keep shooting yourself in the foot and just go, shit. It's half an hour. I could say it. Shit. We can we'll get him next week, guys. No. Because you're going up against the Revolution, who are also in a bad way, but now they see this, they go, Cincinnati and Orlando were both miserable. And they played Montreal and they got 3 points. Why can't we? And then Philadelphia has 0 points. Do you think they're going to walk into Saputo Stadium in 2 weeks or in 3 weeks like a team with 0 points? Or do you think they're going to walk into Saputo Stadium going,
we have a chance. We have a chance. Yeah.
And and you deserve it.
Yeah.
You deserve to have this reputation now. There's this saying that has existed for a while that there's no bad time to play CF Montreal. Because, right now and for the last few years, there's never been a bad time to play CF Montreal. Doesn't matter how bad you're playing, CF Montreal will give you a chance.
And you know what's even the more worrisome thing about this game is that I saw, even with down 10 men, I saw an FC Cincinnati team that figured out, and this is props to the coach of FC Cincinnati, that figured out how to pretty much eliminate Marco Donadel's man-to-man defense. They were literally playing basketball with them. They said, hey, get in his way. Hey, maybe run into this guy that's chasing the other guy and give your attacker some space. And this is the disadvantage of man-to-man, is because when your man loses your man, then one man is free. And that's literally what we saw happen a lot. And they have the talent, as you mentioned, they do have the talented players to be able to do these things and still be effective in the game. And I tweeted out yesterday, I think the league is quickly catching on to what Marco Donadel is doing defensively. And Marco Donadel is sticking to his guns. He's going to play the way he plays. He's going to play because he does believe it works and he does believe it gives this team the best chance to win. He said it over again in the press conference. He was asked last night again. Yesterday, he was asked, do you think maybe you got to change this man to man because it doesn't seem to work? And he said, no, we're not going to talk about individual mistakes because these were individual mistakes. But it works.
So put Torhausen at left back.
I don't know, but figure something out.
I do. Put him at left back. He's better than Petrasso.
Yeah. Well, Petrasso. Well, we'll talk about that because right now we want to move on to some of the points in the game. So top performer of the night. Hard to say right now, but top performer of the night.
It's for me. It's not hard. For me, it's very obvious. It's Wiki Carmona. Wiki Carmona is spectacular in everything that he does. The last 3 games, he has been a revelation. I was super concerned because he went down with what looked like a pretty bad ankle injury in training last week, and he was fine. And I was like, thank God. But he is when you have 2 efficient 1v1 specialist wingers on each side, you need a specific kind of profile to actually tie everything together. Because you have Owusu, who is a hold-up specialist, which means he wants the ball at his feet. You have Ivan Jaime and Hinai Sincha, who are by no means speedsters, but they're one-on-one specialists. They want the ball at their feet. You need somebody that's there. There's not a whole lot of dynamic football being played among the 3 of them. It's relatively static. So when you had Oher Escobar there as well, he was also, again, a player that receives the ball in the half spaces and can half turn. And that's, again, a very good quality to have, but then all 4 of them are static. And we saw it a bit last year, right? It was very drab a lot of the time. Wiki Carmona as a spark plug. So this is a very interesting bit of scouting and profile scouting specifically, because if they went out of their way to go recruit Wiki Carmona because they found that just his profile, forget the quality that we've seen from him, just his profile can unlock everything for the rest of the team, he's worth 10 times what he's probably going to be paying. And all you had to do was give up Jaquil Marshruti, who you were not going to keep anyway. So Wiki Carmona, for me, has not only been the best player of this game because he unlocked everything, and he was playing almost more of an 8 than he was a 10. Look at the tracking runs he was making, going all the way back into his own penalty area again. Oher Escobar is not going to do that. That was the biggest problem that Marco Donadel had with Oher Escobar, was the work he did without the ball was not enough, especially when you're compared to Prince Owusu, who is operating in the same area as you. You look even more static because Prince Owusu doesn't stop running. Wiki Carmona matches that energy. And I think that Marco Donadel sees that and he goes, oh my God, I've struck gold for what he asks of those 2 players. Wiki Carmona is going to be maybe not the most important player this season because you have Jaime, you have Owusu that need to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but he's definitely going to be one of the more undervalued players of this season.
He has because all the tools.
Because again, like I'm not talking about goals and assists, because again, that first goal was sensational. I can't remember the last time somebody just let it fly from outside the box like that. That's not named Dante Sealy, and now has actual danger. People have to actually watch out for that. But it's the work he did that flies under the radar. He was excellent in linking up and breaking lines and driving the ball forward by himself to make space for everyone else. Now you have 3 players that play behind Prince Owusu that all need to be covered and all need to be taken very seriously. That opens up space for Prince Owusu. What happens then? You get the second goal. Because Prince Owusu was in a one-on-one situation. All he had to do was find the right run, which he did. Ivan Jaime simplified his game, doing sit-in, goal. That's all because everyone is now on the same page. So I love Wiki Carmona. And if he can keep, even if this is not the level he's at, even if he's just underneath this level for the whole season, you've already got the bargain of the season, 100%.
I agree with you. I do think that Wiki Carmona has all the tools to succeed. I think he has the speed, he has the understanding of how to use his body to body out the defenders and be a presence in midfield and come down. What I really like about his game is his ability to use the element of surprise for midfielders, where
Yeah.
he comes up with uses his speed to come up behind them and
Yep.
sneak up to steal the ball. I like that. I haven't seen an attacker play that kind of defense in a very long time in a CF Montreal uniform. But my top performer, I think surprised everybody. I kind of say yesterday is Mahalo Poku. I don't think
Yeah.
he had the
I'll get that.
most perfect game. I don't think he was an exit, but I just think they gave him an opportunity, a random opportunity, because nobody was expecting that opportunity. But they gave him a random opportunity, and he made the most of it. I again, not the perfect game, but I do think he did take advantage, and he was interesting. He showed some interesting things to his game. I don't think he gets past this transfer window. If I'm being honest, I think his time with CF Montreal's done. Is it his fault? Is it the club's fault? It's really hard to tell right now. It's very strange because after his ankle injury against Orlando last year, he hasn't been the same, and he's had a very hard time getting on the field. Um, who didn't quite meet the expectations? Who didn't do so well yesterday? Can I start?
Go for it.
Marco Donadel. That's it.
Damn.
That's it. No, I mean we've listed all the reasons. He got outcoached yesterday. He got outcoached. He beat himself up, and he delivered a terrible message to his team after yesterday's loss. Because
I agree with you that he is, for the most part, to blame for the loss. Don't think he got out coached though. Pat Noonan didn't do anything to deserve that win.
I think he actually read really well the situation that Marco Donadel
But he
put his
didn't
team
do
in.
anything.
No, he didn't
Yeah,
have
yeah,
to. He just
yeah,
told his team, guys, let's go. We're actually
yeah,
having a shot in this.
yeah,
Team
but that's not
Montreal's
coaching.
out.
That's not coaching. Marco Donadel beat himself. You're right, but I don't think he got out coached. I just think that he.
Well, when you beat yourself, you're kind of out coaching yourself. You're getting
Yeah,
yourself out
he
coached.
outcoached himself for sure.
Exactly.
No, I think I think he outcoached Pat Noonan, and then he dropped the ball violently. But yeah, 100%. He's probably the if you're gonna pick on an individual who's at fault, you're right. It's Donadell.
Who else? Who else are you gonna put?
Uh,
Victor Lattori? That's been three
Look,
games. I'm not gonna.
we're not gonna beat it. We're not gonna beat a dead horse.
It's been three
Victor
games.
Laturi has had a disastrous season. I'm not gonna pick on Victor Laturi again. I think if anyone knows how difficult it's been for him, it's Victor Laturi. I'm going to single out Luca Petrasso
Horrible.
because Luca Petrasso's team defense is very solid. When he defends as part of a unit, he's fairly reliable. The second he gets put on an island,
Horrible.
oh,
It's
bad.
so bad.
And like therein lies a problem, because when you play against a team that is set up with just a wingback, and then everyone else is played quite centrally, Luca Petrasso, both fullbacks find themselves on islands more often than not. A lot of 1v1 defending is required. Bodi Hidalgo, credit where credit is due, especially with how horrifying his beginning of the season was. Bodi Hidalgo was very solid on Sunday. I think he had a very good game. Didn't provide much offensively, but his side was locked down completely until everyone shit themselves, and then everything went to shit. But at least for the first hour, he had a very solid match. Luca Petrasso on the other side, by comparison, had a nightmare because he's getting turned. And again, remember the guy on the right, Echinike, I think I probably butchered the name, but he had the game of his life because Luca Petrasso allowed him to. Scored a goal. Then he went on a joyride with the ball, and Luca Petrasso led him. That led to the second goal. He actively made everyone's life more difficult. And so
what did FC Cincinnati do? They kept going to that side. They're like, oh, they're giving us space. Let's go to that side. Let's go to that side. Let's go to the right side. Go to the right side. And Ivan Jaime is doing fuck all to help him. So
yeah, but I'm not going to blame Ivan Jaime for any of the goals.
I'm not. but again, it's very hard to justify the Luca Petrosa performance. No, you're absolutely right. If you want to point out an individual, um, I usually would ask at this point if there was a surprise performer. I already said mine, Mahalo Poku. But we do have a few comments in the comment section. So we have P Dubs that says that Torhalson, Vera, and Carmona were good recruitments. I agree.
Mhm.
They're
Yeah.
very good recruitments. They're inter MLS recruitment. And this team, we've said it over and over again in this show, they're very good at recruiting inter MLS. Who are the scouts inter MLS? I don't know. All I know is that they have some scouts that work for CF Montreal that spent most, if not all their time at Cfmtl in the practice field watching their own team. So I'm not sure what they're scouting or how they're doing it, or if it's Bologna FC
Not
scouting the MLS.
Bologna doesn't scout in MLS.
Exactly. And by the way, from what I hear, Bologna, the sporting, the sporting direction has never visited Cfmtl, from my understanding. So
Why would they?
I mean, they could have an idea of what's going on, how the offices are working, and all that. If they're going to be such a big influence on the team, I mean, anyways, I think it will be normal, healthy way to
They probably
collaborate
get a
with your sister
report from
club.
CF Montreal saying this is who we need.
What
And
did
then
they
they
get a selfie with,
go,
also with
"Bra,
Lucas
bra, bra, bra."
Saputo? Like, I mean, come on. I
No,
think
he's in
at some,
Bologna now, isn't he? Or he
if
was
they
in
want
Bologna
to,
last week.
yeah, but if they want to be taken seriously as a club to Bologna FC, they need to actually be like, come here, guys, let us host you and let us see you guys see what we're doing out here. And there was another question by P Dubs. What happened to Bugai, David Bugai? Look, I asked around because I'm also curious. We asked about it in this show a lot. What's
A
going
lot.
on with David Bugai? Because he was a great performer. He's always performed really well last year as a right back, and we thought he would. I said it myself I wrote it on X. I said I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't make it past December. I think he's going to be sold to Europe. I really like the performances he's putting on. From what I'm understanding is that Bugai does have a few issues off the field, um, that are maybe affecting him on the field, and it's kind of sad to see because it is a very young player, and there's a lot of young players in this team, um, and that's something that, um, again, it's what I've heard. Might be completely false, but it's it's certainly something that's affecting his play on the field, and hopefully he can get his stuff together and get back into what his form of last year. So we'll move on from that. Elias, we're going to move on to the CF Montreal storylines, but before that, let's get a quick word from our sponsor. Hello, the Ballers Rounders. This show is sponsored by AR Design. I can tell you that in my case, as you can see in my background, I need some change. This is why I reached out to, my wife reached out to Allison from AR Designs to bring some change in my space. You can't see it now, but over the next few weeks, this room is about to get a little funky with the way it looks. I thought Allison will come to my place and turn the place upside down right away. But before changing anything, she made sure to really understand what my vision was for our place and what budget we were working for. And based on that, she gave us some advice and some ideas as to what our place could look like in the future. And that's when we knew that we had reached out to the right person. Like a soccer team working together for the perfect goal, AR Interior Design coordinates every detail of your interior design project, so your home comes together beautifully. From concept to final touches, Allison makes sure every element works in harmony. Visit ardesign.ca today to see her latest interior design project, or follow the links that you see below me on her Instagram, email, or the website, or you can just find the links on the YouTube description. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, AR Design. All right, so that sponsor message always gets cut off in the end, and I'm just like, oh, Andy, you were almost finished, and it didn't finish. But anyways, let's move on to the CF Montreal storylines. First things first, the hot topic. We should get like a meme or something when we say hot topic, like the Elmo, the Elmo with the fire in the back.
Yeah.
So are we getting close to the point where the club needs to pull the plug on Marco Donadel? Or does he still need more deserve, important word, deserve more time to figure things out? And if so, Elias, if your answer is yes to the second part, realistically, how much time does he have left before results have to change? Have to change. So first, yes or no. Second, why?
I don't think it's time to pull the plug. Um,
Okay.
but what he's shown now, again, we talked about progress. We talked about getting to the next step, and the sporting direction has done that. They've put together a team that is a noticeable improvement from the team that ended last season. Right? I still don't think they've replaced George Campbell. I still don't think they've replaced Nathan Saliba. But based on the actual squad that you had last year, this is a step in the right direction, which is what we asked for, right? They said give us multiple windows. I'm talking about 1 or 2 years. This first window is absolutely a good window, right? Marco Donadel, it's your turn to kind of grow, right? I gave Marco Donadel the benefit of the doubt. I felt like he had earned it because he had managed to get the locker room on his side last season. But that alone is not enough. Because we saw the squad, we saw the sporting direction take the steps in the right direction to grow and to improve. Now, Marco Donadel, what are you doing to grow and improve? The game against Red Bulls shows me that you physically can. You are able of it. The first hour against Cincinnati shows me that you are capable of this. Okay, so it's no longer a hypothetical. What can he do to improve? No. We've seen it. Because even if the man-to-man was a little bit more complicated against Cincinnati, I feel like it largely did what it was supposed to do, right? And it gave them, and more importantly, right? And this will never be a shutdown defense, right? But what it does is it gives them the opportunity to stay in games and even win games. So what we saw in Cincinnati for the first hour, I think, is the right. It is my proof of concept that Marco Donadel can evolve and improve and adapt to succeed in MLS. And then he gives me the last half hour. So I don't think the last half hour alone is justification for him to move on. But what this is now it's this little nugget in the back of your brain going, if he doesn't fix this, he has to go. If he doesn't fix this, he has to go. If he doesn't fix this, he has to go. So if this issue persists, 100%, this is a very serious conversation that needs to be had. But if we're talking purely now about game preparation, if this is the kind of 11 that Marco Donadel puts forward, right? And we're talking about, it's not the exact 11, right? Piet might come in and someone might come out. Aviles might come in and Vera or Morales may come out, or Neil may step in and someone may step out, or right. There's one of the things that the sporting direction has done is they've added more depth, so you can have pieces come in and out, and the quality won't drop drastically anymore, or at least not as drastically as it did last season.
Yeah.
But again, I'm talking about Bugay for Hidalgo, not Aviles for Hidalgo. I'm talking about Torhausen for Petrasso, not Torhausen for Jaime. That's the thing. So you're not just making changes that are actively kneecapping your team. You're making changes that increase the competition, and you're still having players play at their natural positions. It's not a coincidence that the best game and a half that this club has had is the only game and a half where everyone is in their spot. It's not a coincidence. You don't have to play Tetris anymore. You have multiple players for every single position at the club. I don't need to see Brendan Craig in the midfield anymore. I don't need to see Thomas Aviles at right back. I don't need to see this kind of nonsense anymore because you have the depth. Midfield is a bit iffy, but you still have Samuel Piet, and hopefully in due time, you have Fabian Herbers and Ivan Losenko as well. But this issue that persists, then I think Donadel's job is in very real danger. If he keeps showing that he can put together these very strong performances, that's good. But the next step is not 40, because again, last year we got 45 minutes of good football and then they would lose for one reason or another. We got 60 minutes of good football and then they would lose for one reason or another. What we didn't get was 90 minutes. This season through 5 games, we've got 90 minutes once, right? It's better than what they started the season with last year, but just barely. So I think right now if P-Dub says Donadel has to go, bring in Bernier or Jim Curtin.
Jim
Well,
Curtin,
Bernier.
please. I would give anything to have him on the club.
Well, I think someone like Patrice Bernier is not, is
Well,
not
look,
the solution.
I do want to
But
say this, okay? Because sorry, to just because I'm inclined, Elias, to say fire him. I'm inclined to say that. I'm inclined because, and I'll tell you why, because of every reason you've mentioned. But the fact that he had a whole year, people want to say that this is his first full season. Fair, okay. But last year, even as an assistant coach, he still had time to learn the players, learn what the club was, whatever it was, learn the vision. But I'm inclined to say fire him already because I think he's had enough time to figure this out and a whole offseason in Marbella and Orlando, all that to really, really figure what's going on. And he came out flat. Truth of the matter is, Montreal has 4 losses and 1 win. And I insist, I said this in this pod, I said it in my writing after the New York Red Bulls game. Montreal did well, but New York played really, really bad. Were a terrible soccer team. So Montreal, I mean, they kind of played into New York's hand in the sense. I don't know if I should say that, but it was it just I think in a sense it was one of those wins that gave you hope, but it wasn't didn't really give you the full picture. Because if I'm not wrong, I'm not looking at the lineup right now, but Henadi Sinchuk didn't play that game, right? Against New York Red Bulls. He was in the bench the whole time,
yeah,
if I'm not wrong. So things like that. Um, I'm ready to say that he should be let go. Now, the only reason why I don't think it's going to happen is because this club last summer declared a rebuild, which means it's a process. It's a process. And I don't think right now, if you fire Marco Donadel, there's many coaches, especially with the World Cup coming right around the corner. There's a lot of coaches that will say, I want to be part of this rebuild and go through the ugly process of getting rid of some Mahalo Poku, Sanusi Ibrahim. You have some dissatisfied dossiers in this squad, and I don't know if any coach is going to be able to instantly turn that around. This is the only reason why I think that they won't fire Marco Dadadao. Not because they don't want to, but because they can't. They really can't because they don't have much options elsewhere. Maybe I'm wrong. Elias, maybe tomorrow morning we see the tweet and they bring in somebody like a Pato. I said it yesterday in KFC. I do believe that Philippe Lafroy is ready to be a head coach for CF Montreal. I don't know if he'll be the best head coach, but I do think he's ready. He knows the club, he knows the academy, he knows what this club wants and how it works.
that's what
Um,
they said about Donadel.
yeah, but whatever. I'm not gonna go back to that. Um,
That's what they said about him a year ago. It's the same thing.
well, there you go. So why not Philippe Lafroy? Let's do it again.
No, we can't. We can't
Wait,
keep
when did
resetting.
what date did Laurent Courtois get fired?
It's in a week. Is his 1 year anniversary? The
Last year you said
29th.
last week you said it was a week.
Oh,
This
from
week
the
is
first
now
game. The first he was fired in 2 days. On
okay.
Wednesday, it'll be his 1 year anniversary.
So Marco
We
Donadel,
can't we can't keep doing this shit every 12 months. It's not a realistic thing to go, yeah, we have a guy from within the club. He knows the club. He knows the players. He's ready to take over as interim. So was Donadel.
isn't that
It
what
did.
Orlando just did? The interim guy is a guy that worked in the academy, knows the club, knows everything.
And Andy, Orlando right now is not the team to copy.
They're a broken team. They're such a
They're
bad
not
team.
the team to copy. We can't. If Philly, even if Philly right now, if Philly use that example right now, fine, because Philly's an institution. I'm not looking at Orlando as an example, the same way Orlando's not looking at CF Montreal as an example. These
Look
are
at
two
us.
teams that are not the moral. That are not the authority on how to turn a season around.
All right, let's do things the way Toronto FC does them. Okay, next subject. So
What
what?
are we talking about?
Let's copy paste Toronto FC. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get myself canceled in the CF Montreal community.
You're
So
banned.
let's talk about the famous Ivan Jaime because I shared some clips yesterday about what I felt was, to me, in my personal opinion, disturbing. I think everybody saw the clip that where he's throwing the ball on the sideline, clearly frustrated at his performance. I don't think he's mad at the coach. I don't think he's mad at the team. I don't think he's mad. I think he's mad at himself. Um, and the reason why I say it was disturbing because I saw him a few times. The camera focused not necessarily on him, but the substitution. You can kind of catch a sight on him. I wish I should have showed the videos here. I should have uploaded so that we could see it. But to me, I rewatched that clip several times, Elias, before posting it because I wanted to say maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just crazy thinking about this. But Elias, we've both worked or we've gone to school and all that, and you've seen people in distress. I've been
Yeah.
in distress. I've been put in positions in my life where I felt that distress, where it just feels like the world is falling apart, and it just felt like we were seeing somebody that's clearly not in a good place right now. And because everybody's talking about his contract situation, the loan situation. So I just want to know, it feels like Ivan Jaime's situation has become a bit of a question mark lately. Lately, no, it's always been a question mark here. Do you think that the club has already made the decision on the loan now, and they're going to kind of play it out to their advantage, or does he still have a real chance to prove that he deserves that permanent transfer?
I hope they've made a decision, and I hope the decision is to keep him.
He is so good. He's really good.
Look, I've seen the video, I've looked at the video, I've obsessed over the video, and honestly, I'm not. If this becomes a pattern, then there's cause for concern. This being a one-off for a guy that was taken out at the hour mark, that was having a pretty good game, but that was, again, there was some relatively frustrating moments for him. Sometimes it looked like a very dry pitch,
Well, three
and a
times he
lot of
tripped on
people, a
himself.
lot of people were slipping. And he tripped over the ball a couple times. He got the assist. He got on the score sheet. He got his goal contribution, which was very nice for him. But I feel like he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to do what a designated player is supposed to do. And I like that he's taking it upon himself. He's not just coasting. Because again, a player like this, if he was checked out or if he didn't want to be here, he comes off the bench and he's like this. There's no reaction. C'est la vie. Oh well. Like he's not throwing bottles. He's not visibly upset. Right? I think that they've managed to tap into something. P Dub saying that he tries to do a bit too much, and I agree. I think he should simplify his game, especially when the offense is clicking. I feel like he has to tap into that, and again, that'll come when he's actually allowed to start more than one game in a row, more than one game, back to back. So hopefully, against they come back from the international break and they play the Revolution, and hopefully the first game is Saputo, he's in the starting 11. But what I see is someone who is unhappy with himself, not necessarily his situation, but with he feels like he could have done more. That's just someone who looks motivated. Again, right? If this happens every game that he comes out and he's throwing bottles and he's throwing fits, then it's cause for concern. But one game, especially the game that he had where he could have added a lot, right? He was in situations where he could have added an assist or added a goal or progressed the ball even more, and something just didn't happen. Especially the small stuff. That's arguably even more frustrating than a big mistake.
Well, like
It was
tripping on
right. It was
himself.
right there.
Those are
It was right there, right? Or if it's a small touch that went over, or like he was the best chance he got all game. He was fouled, and it led to a free kick, and the free kick went nowhere, right? And he sent the free kick into Rosette, right? That's extremely frustrating for someone who has very high expectations of himself. So I'm not too concerned about his reaction in this game, but now the man manager of Marco Donadel, the man who was able to get the entire team to buy into a system, now has to get Ivan Jaime to buy into a system.
you
And
know
that's
yeah.
arguably as important as his game management is getting Ivan Jaime to kind of center himself and focus and really tap into the flow of the offense. Because we've already seen that him and Owusu combine really well. We've already seen that him and Carmona are combining really well. Even him and Petrasso look better together. By all accounts, this is an improved Ivan Jaime over last season already. And he's only played, like 150 minutes?
Yeah.
But now it's, can you get everything to do it every game?
Yeah,
That's about
but
it.
I think this is what the problem is. The reason why I focus so much on his body language and his reaction is because I just feel like Marco Donadel has kind of taken advantage of the situation of a desperate player trying to get minutes and impact, and instead has limited his minutes and forced him to have very little time to do a lot. Which we saw, I believe it was in the Orlando game that he came in the 57th minute and he completely changed the game around. They didn't
Mhm.
score, he didn't get on the score sheet, but you saw that he brought a difference, but he was a desperate player. And then he started this game, and I mentioned, you said, yeah, the ground was slippery and all that, but there was a lot of times that he didn't actually slip on anything. He tripped on the ball,
That's what I
which
mean. The
again
ball got
shows,
caught up a lot.
but
For
it
a
shows
natural
me that
grass
that's
pitch, the field was very dry, and
it
the
just
ball
showed me
was
that
getting caught all the
he
time.
seemed like a desperate player to make something happen, and not for the team, Elias, not for CF Montreal, for him. He wants to get on the score sheet desperately, and when
Yeah,
he is taken out and realizes, holy smokes, I just played 57 minutes and didn't have the impact I wanted to have. I wanted to score 5 goals. We've seen him several times make decisions where he decides he has 7 options to his side and he decides to desperately shoot with 3 defenders in front of him. So some of those decisions to me are driven in a desperation mode. Now I'm not gonna put the blame on Donadel on this because even Jaime does at some point need to choose his battles too as to which one is the one that is actually gonna make this team, this club, believe that he's a true, you know, a true asset to the team, and that goes a long way with playing defense as well. Um, I think those images were disturbing, like I said, but because I think we're seeing kind of on camera in person a person that's realizing, oh snap, my chances are getting very, very, limited now. Um, Big shout out Ridgeway 33 that says thank you for your continued coverage of the Impact, gentlemen. We're here. We'll be here every Monday night, or if some Monday nights we're not here, we're, we'll figure it
we'll be
out.
here.
But we are always going to be covering the teams in Montreal because we love what we do. So the last 2 points, I know we're kind of getting on the hour mark here, guys, but um, we just I mentioned earlier 4 losses, 1 win. It's so early in the season, guys. I don't even think I realize how early it is in the season. But it still feels like the margin for error is getting smaller and smaller with every loss, even though the season is still long. Um, does the season still feel long to you, Elias, right now, or did it get like a lot shorter? Does it feel shorter now that all these losses like are accumulating? We said this early last season when Laurent Courtois was fired. Does it feel like it's getting shorter this season?
They've still got like 30 games to play.
I know it's very long, but
Look, yeah, I'm by no means happy with this, but I'm also not like the season is over. Wrap it up, guys. Still 30 games left, right? People are saying the season is over now. Are are just traumatized. Rightfully so. It's been a very traumatic 5 years, but it's too early for the season or too early for Donadel are two very different questions. But too early for the season, absolutely.
wouldn't you say
They're
they
still
go hand
30.
in
They
hand,
haven't they
Elias?
haven't even stepped foot in Stats Puro yet. They also haven't even stepped foot on Cincinnati. I hope the snow starts melting because they're playing a game in less than a month. So, fucking pitter patter.
If
But
CPL can do it, Montreal can do it.
they played on turf, not on grass. But 3 weeks before the first game of the season at Stats Puro. So it's still under snow, but that's a topic for another day. That's a
Another
concern
pot.
for another day. But I'm not too worried about the state of the season yet, especially because again, kind of touching back on what we were talking about under the Donadel section of this podcast. What we've seen at its best is very impressive for what they managed to do in one window with very limited. They didn't bring in Antoine Griezmann. In terms of gradual steps forward, I like what I see. The only problem is we've only seen it for 150 minutes, give or take, right? So now it's more a question of can you replicate this and can you do it against a low block? Because when teams come to Stade Saputo, they're not coming to take the ball off you in your own penalty area. They're going to be sitting back. Can you create? Can you get Wiki Carmona on the ball in space? Can you get even Jaime one-on-one? Can you? We'll have to see. But wait, there's 30 games left in all competitions, minimum, right? So, guys, let's relax a little bit. Un poco.
And now you're speaking my language. But no, I think it's no, I think it's still a long season. If these past seasons have proven anything at all to us, Elias, is that these seasons can be long and there can be a lot of storylines that develop very quickly. We saw it. We talked about it at the end of last season. We said this season has felt like 3 seasons combined with so many storylines. We
Yep.
had the Laurent Courtois firing. We had a new DP with Ivan Jaime. We had the Giacomo Vrioni saga. We had so many things. So now we already have storylines that we're talking about the show, but there's a lot to go. There's still the CPL, the Canadian Championship to go. There's still not even Leagues Cup, but there's going to be the World Cup break. There's going to be an Antoine Griezmann coming to Orlando, which is definitely going to alter things, the
And coming to
surface for the
Montreal,
MLS. And there's going to be different things happening to Montreal. So for the good or the bad, it's still very long season. But here at this show, we like to dissect every little topic. So sometimes the topics might make it seem like we're already at a point where we're calling it quits on the season, but we're not there. It's so early. It's just frustrating, I think, Elias, for a lot of fans to have waited 2-3 months for this thing to get started, and for the kind of result we're having now is just
yeah,
it's frustrating.
a
And you
huge
see,
letdown.
but around the league, if you look at the scores, if you look, and not even watching the whole game, the whole 90 minutes of every game, just watching the scores, there's a lot of storylines developing elsewhere, guys. CF
Yeah.
Montreal is kind of in the same position as if you want to talk about Orlando, or you want to talk a Philly team, even Atlanta. They messed up last year. Then they brought in a new coach and in Tata Martino, very well respected MLS, and they're still struggling a lot. I
That's
don't know if
because
they
I
lost
don't
or
rate Tata
won.
Martino, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like a lot of things. So if I think Montreal needs to realize that Montreal fans need to realize that I think CF Montreal is trying to do things better. I think they're trying to learn from their lessons and not do mirror images. Um, but I do think that they have to take quick actions if they don't want to let the
Hmm.
season slip. And that to me starts with Marco Donadel. I'm not saying fire him tomorrow, but there has to be a serious conversation with Marco saying, what are we doing, dude? What is your plan? How do we get out of this? Are we just kind of gonna hope that you come up with a plan? Um, and I do think that the people in his staff need to sit down with him and tell him, your man to man is not working. It does not work in MLS. It doesn't, in my opinion, it does not work. I like his offense. I like the way he sets up his team to play offensively, but defensively, trash. I don't like the man to man. I don't think it works in this league. So we'll see. Last topic before we call it quits. Transfer window closing soon. What does Montreal do?
What do they do, or what should they do?
What should they do?
What should they do is they should buy out Sanusi Ibrahim's contract and bring in another striker. What will they do is nothing.
Good. I completely agree. They need to get focused on getting rid of contracts, and they probably won't bring anybody because they really want to wait till after the World Cup. I forgot. I had heard somebody talk about this. I forgot who it was. That they said that a lot of the players right now, the way they're seeing MLS is, I'd rather position myself in these next few months to play for a club in Europe so that I give myself a better chance for the national team that is going to World Cup, as opposed to taking that kind of, maybe a lot of players might say, a step back and coming to MLS. Um, I don't know if it's true or not, but I definitely do think that they won't do anything. They will wait for the right opportunity in the summer when the World
I
Cup is done,
mean,
and a lot of
take a look
players.
at Mathieu Chouanier, right? Who was basically out of the national team, or at least out of the dropping in the hierarchy when he was in Switzerland. He comes back to MLS, and all of a sudden he's getting man of the match, and he's rising up the hierarchy again. It's not
Yeah,
just about where you play anymore, right? MLS is improving as a league. P Dub saying that Nilton George
Milton
said
George.
that Luca was in Italy to try and find someone. Luca's always trying to find someone. I don't think they're going to do anything this window. That's You know,
They're gonna test the waters.
Yeah, okay. They've been testing the waters for like years now. Okay,
Elias,
I don't think they bring anybody in. Frankly,
Hey guys, yesterday we have a group chat with Elias, and I said a name, and they sent me to hell. Them being Hattie and
don't
him.
say it. Don't say it.
Federico Bernardeschi.
Okay, that's our show, everybody. Thank you. We'll see you next week for episode 247 of
Peace!
Get this shit out of here, man. No, they're not gonna bring in Federico Bernardeschi, dude. It's not happening. And I don't think anybody, including Federico Bernardeschi, wants it to happen. It's no. Like just
he knows the MLS. He's not getting minutes at Bologna.
Doesn't matter. Dude.
He's a winger. Talented.
Look, when he signed for Bologna last year, I said it as a joke. Oh my God, wouldn't it be funny if he leaves Toronto to come to Montreal? No, dude. No, it would not go the way you think it would. And I mean, no, man.
I said it last pod. We're going to have a segment that is labeled Andy was right. So, but thank you guys so much, because we got to end on that note. With
There's going to be a segment where Elias beats Andy over the head with a hammer.
Thank you so much for everything. Everyone who joined us tonight, we hope you loved the show. As always, The Ball is Round is completely free to watch and listen to on all of our platforms. Don't forget to follow us on all of our social media platforms. Plus, give a follow to my account as well as Elias's account for your daily dose of hot takes, chaos, and maybe a little nonsense. A huge shout out to everyone who joined the Patreon this week. You guys are legends and ball of rounders. Honestly, I'm calling y'all ball arounders. Those that listen to us and follow us everywhere. And for everyone who tuned in tonight, thanks for sticking with us. You guys saw a little bit crazy. You guys see how Mondays we get a little bit crazier at the end of the show than it was on Sunday, because Sunday is the day.
Yeah, Andy, you were pretty crazy to suggest that player.
That we pray to the Lord and we confess our sins, so we're good people. But Monday night we forget everything. So make sure to join us next week for episode 257. Guys, we got plenty of practice content. Whether we do the show or not, we have op watch, we have practice reports, we have pictures. Follow us on all that, man, because guys, we're doing it for you guys. Elias is going out there driving in the winter and getting interviews, post-practice interview with players. I'm doing it when I can as well. So guys, make sure to join our Patreon today. It's free. It's free, and it just takes your email, and you're going to get annoying emails from us every time we have content. That's it. Quebec soccer, Canadian soccer, there's just too much to list of what we cover on this show. But you already know the drill. Don't miss it. See you next time.